Okay, I can see it now. I hope you guys can see me and it all makes sense. But okay, so let me just start out by saying that my name is Lacey, and I started this group, Essentially Oiled Works, almost 6 years ago because I was really interested in sharing the essential oils with everyone that would listen, and I thought it would be good to have a place where I could share that information, and where as a community we could share that information and just have it free, kind of roaming, and everybody who was interested in learning can learn. And so that's what this group is. And we're all about sharing the wealth and goodness that is essential oils and what they have to offer us. So I'm going to talk about more than essential oils, because when I started on this journey, while essential oils were my main squeeze and why I got involved, the other products that doTERRA makes just create this full wellness adventure that makes it possible for us to stay healthy on so many different levels. So I'm going to share more than just oils today, but the oils really continue to amaze me. We keep getting new oils in our product line that continue to add more dimensions and more abilities. And they're just an amazing thing. They're just, I can't really get over how exciting they are to be a part of, and something to share with people who maybe otherwise don't have a lot of hope for what is going on in their health. And so they're simple, they're easy, they're safe. And I just love being able to share them with people to give them some new tools, easy tools, and really cost-effective tools when you do the math. One thing I like to share with people is that our family has been very well for the last 6 years. We actually haven't had to go to the pediatrician since we started, because our kids don't get sick, and when they do, we know how to deal with it. So anytime that they've had, and they have had, the flu, usually it lasts much less long, much less time than other folks have to deal with those things. And we have tools that help and relieve some of those symptoms, and we don't go into cold and flu season just kind of terrified, because we have some supports and we know how our body functions. And so I really wanted to give you guys some insights into what I've learned about how digestion works and how our bodies work, and how that can really impact our whole wellness, and where we can start kind of chipping away at that and making some huge progress and strides forward and being healthier in the future. And maybe helping others be healthier too. It's really empowering to be able to help yourself. It's really empowering to know the answers when other people are looking for those answers. Okay, so starting with the gut. So this time of year, we're a little overindulgent, right? We might be eating more sugar, we might be eating cookies and cakes, and we might be eating more, fried foods and things that are just maybe not a part of our normal diet. But because it's colder, we're inside more with nothing to do, maybe, I don't know, or we're with friends and family and everybody brings food, and it's just impossible to avoid those things all the time, especially this time of year. So I'm not going to tell you to go ahead and quit sugar right now, because that's too much to ask of you. We still have New Year's to get through, plus all the leftovers. So I won't tell you to cut all those things out immediately. I will say that's something that when we start our cleanse group, that'll be a part of that. We'll talk about some of the things that we can eliminate to do better. But today we're really going to talk about some of the supports you can use, even in combination with not changing any of those things, and really see some results. But I want to talk about how our bodies work first, because I find this so fascinating, and I think that a lot of people will find this fascinating and really kind of get a lot out of this notion of how our bodies work. And there's a song, and I need to really remember it because I always try to quote it and I never say it right, but the knee bone's connected to the, I don't know what, the ankle bone? I'm not really sure. It's not though. The shin bone, maybe that's definitely true, right? Yeah. Anyway, so anatomy is not my forte, but I am learning thanks to dōTERRA. They really, this company is so committed to education and to making sure that the customers and wellness advocates have massive access to education so that they can take full charge. And I will show you some of those tools before we get off the call. I will show you how you can get your hands on more of this education if you really want to dive, because there's so much out there, and it can be overwhelming, but we really make it simple so that you can use it and find what you need specifically for your needs. So, okay, if you've ever felt stress, that's an emotion, right? But where do we feel stress? We often feel it in our stomach. We get knots, we get just nervous stomach, butterflies in our stomach. These are all things that we use to kind of describe that emotional state. But it's emotional. However, we do have a physical manifestation of that in our stomach. And so it's important to kind of remember that while we say those things and think those things, we don't necessarily put two and two together that that emotion is related to a physical state. And a lot of times we'll think the stress is inducing the stomach ache. And sometimes it works the other way. The stomach ache is inducing stress in our brains, because this is a pathway that goes two ways. So I'm going to start reading my notes because some of these words are big and new to me, and it's not something I use on a regular basis. So I'm going to read my notes so that I stay on track, and so that you guys can maybe take some notes if you want to. If not, don't worry, I'm not going to quiz you on this, but it is cool to know. So generally in modern medicine, we isolate each symptom and we address one thing at a time, whether that's headaches or stomach aches, or it could be mood and emotion. If you have anxiety, you're going to get treated for anxiety, right? You don't go to the psychologist and get a prescription for a digestive issue. Usually, generally speaking, they separate those into two different categories. But recent research in the last decade or so is really coming to terms with the idea that every piece of the puzzle works together. And the second brain, that's a thing. We call our gut the second brain. So we have our first brain, obviously, is our brain, and then our second brain is the gut. And it's just as important as the regular brain for determining a lot of our bodily functions, from sleep to emotion. So a lot of times we think of our gut, we think of our stomach, and we think of our intestine, but it also includes our liver and our kidneys and all of those pieces of digestion. And keeping all of those pieces healthy is really important. Gallbladder, something people take out a lot of times, that is a piece of the puzzle. If your gallbladder is out of whack, we need to look at that. What's causing that? And kind of come back to understanding the roots of all of this. Okay, so we're going to assess some of this. So for an example, when I'm stressed, I either don't eat or I eat lots of sugar. And it helps that hormone in the sugar, the chemical reaction triggers my body to release hormones, feeling good hormones. When I'm mad, I don't eat, and usually my stomach tenses up, and it's kind of like the silent treatment. I'm like, I'm not eating, and I'll push my dessert away or whatever it is. When I'm nervous, I feel sick to my stomach. A lot of you probably have similar emotions with your stomach or similar feelings. And then when I'm sad, I also feel that in my stomach. When, heartache is, often felt throughout the whole midsection. But that gut mind has a lot to do with how we feel emotionally as well. Research is showing that the gut-brain connection is very real, and that there is a direct connection between the stomach and an intestine and our brain. So a review of 13 studies, I'm going to get into the science for a minute. The review of 13 studies showed that patients who tried psychologically based approaches had greater improvement in their digestive symptoms compared with patients who received only conventional medical treatment. So that means they were dealing with the stomach issue, but they also got emotional support at the same time, and they were able to more fully find a resolution to those issues. Stomach issues often do stem from stress, and then the emotions of anxiety can feel even worse and often result in more gut issues. So it's this cycle that we need to kind of hop off of. So this is where we're talking about emotions a lot. The enteric nervous system, the ENS, enteric nervous system, is two thin layers of more than 100 million nerve cells lining our gastrointestinal tract from the esophagus all the way to the rectum. So again, these are nerve cells inside our stomach all the way down, from our esophagus all the way down. Nerve cells, you don't often think about nerve cells. You don't think about them being inside in places where we don't, necessarily sense a feeling like we do with our, five senses, touch, right? It's not the same, but it does have a nerve ending, and it triggers the brain on some level. And there is a bidirectional pathway from the brain to the second brain, that gut brain, meaning emotion can affect the gut and the gut can affect emotion. So we have to remember that works both ways, okay? A lot of times we see it one way, but we don't see it the other way. And we need to treat all of those things when we're dealing with that issue. When we're dealing with anxiety, it helps to see both sides. When we're dealing with maybe IBS or other gut related issues, leaky gut, that kind of thing, we need to deal with both sides, address it from both angles. So the ENS, that enteric nervous system, may trigger big emotional shifts experienced by people coping with irritable bowel syndrome and functional bowel problems such as constipation, diarrhea, bloating, pain, and stomach upset. So for decades, researchers and doctors thought that anxiety and depression contributed to these problems, but our studies and others show that this may also be the other way around. So researchers are finding evidence that irritation in the gastrointestinal system may send signals to the central nervous system that triggers mood changes. So a lot of times, again, we have tried to separate those two things, and it's really important to realize that they work together, that they're part and partial. So these new findings may explain why a higher than normal percentage of people with IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, and functional bowel problems develop depression and anxiety. So a lot of times too, when I've talked to people, these things go hand in hand, and they'll say, you know, oh, I've got, you know, IBS is a really good example, general kind of term. And then I look at their life, and their life is high stress, move, where they have sort of an emotional imbalance for one reason or another. And then it could go back to having an experience with the medication that sort of screwed with their gut. And so now they're just on this swing back and forth of these two different things that they're dealing with. So modern medicine is looking at this new discovery as a way of altering treatment. And what they're not looking at is how it can be healed, reversed, or even prevented. So how did our guts begin? How did they get like this? How did it get to be so imbalanced? And I think there's several different ways that modern medicine has maybe handicapped us in our understanding, so that we make choices that we don't realize are impacting this outcome. Okay, one example of that would be antibiotics. Antibiotics are a really good example of most people have been exposed or taken antibiotics at least once. And when you do that, it totally alters your gut flora, your bacteria in your gut. It's known as the microbiome. And that gut is established in the first 1 to 2 years of your life. Other things that impact this. And so we had somebody, when we did this class in person, they were like, that could have been me, right? She just had this revelation. When babies are born via cesarean section versus being born vaginally, it changes the microbiome that they're exposed to and changes what's formed inside that gastrointestinal microbiome situation. So that is a huge player. So it's one thing that happens in our health system that it's not that it's irreversible or that we can't find a solution or a way around it, because obviously cesareans are a good thing in many cases, but there are ways to sort of readdress that. One of them is to swab the mother's vaginal area and then swab the baby after a cesarean takes place. And that introduces them to that microflora that then balances out that microbiome. That's crazy, right? So simple, and yet something that we have just discovered as a way of dealing with this, and as a way of helping babies develop that healthy internal balance. We have over 500 species in our gut. And what happens is we take an antibiotic and it wipes out 350 species, then we're in trouble. Okay. And our gut has a really hard time balancing that back out again. So we have to do our best to support it in these different situations. We talked about this a little at the class. It's not in my notes, but I think it's interesting. They're even doing things like, this is nuts and outside of the realm of essential oils, but they're doing some crazy things now where they're even offering transplants of fecal matter transplants, which is just a way of taking the microbiome of somebody else and putting it in another person so that they can then establish those flora in their own system. So it's just such a neat thing to think about. And when we as I'm trying to think of sort of a way. So I was watching a gardening show last night, and they were installing a pond. And a pond is a beautiful ecosystem, much like our gut. Lots of things in there to help clean it out. There's little, bacterias that, eat poop. And then there's the ones that eat those guys and the ones that eat those guys. And it's a similar kind of balance going on in our gut. Now, when you make a pond, you have to work really hard at getting that balance just right. And in fact, we have a pond, and the balance is not right at all. And so we're constantly like, how do we fix this? How do we get this balance right so that we don't have all the murky seaweed or pondweed and that we have healthy fish life and healthy plant growth and all of these things. And you add one thing, for example, we added carp. This is totally going on a tangent. I hope you're okay with this. We added carp in hopes to eat a lot of the seaweed. Well, they did, but then they ate all of the cattails, and the cattails are a natural filtration system for the new water coming in. So now our water is a little murkier, and then we have other weeds that have popped up. So there's this perfect balance that's meant to be inside of ourselves. And we have a lot of things that kind of interrupt that. And a lot of that has to do with toxic load that we can't change, you know, whether you've taken an antibiotic or not. If you've used cleaners that aren't all natural, if you've been in a room that use cleaners that aren't all natural, if you've used products like hand sanitizers or even hand soaps in public restrooms, these things have antibiotics mixed in. If you eat chicken or meat, antibiotics, it's in the meat because they are treated with antibiotics, or because they're eating foods or grasses and grains that have antibiotics in them. So it's just this never-ending battle, and we have to really do our best to kind of combat that and be aware of these things, these forces that are kind of working against us. Okay, so it's not all grim and sad, even though I know grim, I use that word lightly. Grim, we're changing the word of grim, or the meaning of grim. Grim can be a good thing. Anyway, I'm totally being silly, but yeah, this is all really important things to keep in mind, and important things because there are tools that we can use to help recover from these different inputs. Okay, so the second thing, that was emotions. We talked a little bit about emotions. And then I also want to hit on sleep, because I find this cycle to be really repetitive, of where digestion isn't right, but sleep is also not right. And then we're highly anxious or emotional because none of that is in balance. And so we really want to focus on that whole idea of getting it all kind of back together instead of just isolating one item at a time. So digestion and sleep. Sleep time is actually a time where you really don't want to be digesting. So it's important to talk about this, because a lot of times we think that's when digestion happens. It's when we absorb nutrients and balance hormones, but we really don't want to have a full stomach when we lay down. In fact, it's recommended that you stop eating, I think it's 3 hours before you go to bed, whatever time that is. And that's a hard rule to follow. I know for me it is. But that's one of those things where you want to go to bed with an empty stomach, not feeling hungry, but not really digesting a ton at the same time, because that interrupts that natural absorption and sort of hormone balancing time. If our system is bogged down with digesting, it doesn't actually get in as deep of a sleep, and it can't do the restorative work it needs to. So that turning that's happening in there will actually keep you more awake. On top of all this, the toxic load or imbalance of our stomach highly impacts our ability to produce hormones like melatonin. Commonly, people take melatonin as a way of inducing better sleep, but it's better if our bodies make melatonin, because the more melatonin we take, the more we need to take. And we become reliant on it as a way of actually finding good rest. But much of that job of balancing our hormones is done in the gut while we're sleeping, and 80 to 90% of serotonin is actually produced in our gut. And that's the hormone that induces melatonin and a deeper sleep. So low levels of serotonin are found in folks with depression commonly. Serotonin is what is used to make melatonin, like I just mentioned. So that's some of the foundation for how these different things work. Now we're going to talk about some tools that we can use to improve all of this. We're going to cover more of that GI tract, the gastrointestinal tract, and what it does on a nutritional level, and what we can do simply and easily to make it work better. Okay, so I actually am going to show you really quickly a place where you can find more information on this. And then I'm going to go through some slides with you, and I'll try to do that fairly quickly and not make it too much to bog you down too much, but I do want to tell you the tools to use. But I'm going to show you first some other resources that you might be interested in turning to. So let me share my screen and see if I can find where we need to go. And I'm sorry, I haven't looked at questions yet. I will come back to that. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. But I wanted to show you, so on dōTERRA's website, we have this incredible resource called the Empowered Life series. And you can access it by hitting, when you go to dōTERRA.com and you hover over advocates. Oops, let me show you. I clicked on advocates instead of just hovering. But when you hover on training, you go to Empowered Life, okay? I hope you can see what my mouse is doing. Okay, so here we are. Look through this. This is an incredible resource. There are, these are different webinars that have taken place on so many different topics, from cleaning to pregnancy to the great outdoors, mind over matter, that's about, emotions, daily lifestyle habits, healthy lifestyle, live in an active lifestyle. So it just goes on. So the information, a lot of the information that I pulled together and that I, found to be a good resource was in this section over here, which is July 2017. And you can see it just goes on and on. There's just tons and tons. Really good. And here we are. When I click on that, we've got all of these videos. And I'm going to highly suggest that you watch this first video. I already posted a link for one further down. And then here, if you have leaky gut issues, this could be a really great way to learn some ways to deal with that. Boyd Truman is awesome. That was the link I posted in our group already that I encouraged you to watch. James Bybee, he's a wealth of information. Brianne Hovey, the same. So these are some really great resources for you to use to learn more about digestion in general and the tools that we have to use with them. But one of the other last things I wanted to show you was Discover Solutions. Right above Empowered Life, right here. When you have any specific need, so you can choose a wellness topic up here, whether it's sleep, self-care, exercise, weight management, mood management, or you can look at our different products, or you can choose a body system. This is really cool. So you can choose digestive system, for example, and there you have it. Our top products, some digestive tips, and then it goes on, and there's some videos and such too on this page. So these are just some resources I wanted you to know exist, because you can do all kinds of exploring and learning on your own with things that are specific to your needs. So there you have it. You have those fun tools. Now I'm going to share a different screen. See if I can find it. Where did it go? I'm not sure what you're seeing. Okay. Click the wrong one. Okay. All right, so now I'm just going to go through these slides right quick. And if you have any questions, like I said, keep them coming. I will get to them as soon as I'm done with the screen share. And this shouldn't take too long, but we are going to cover what is the gastrointestinal tract? What is the GI tract? Call it GI is a much easier thing to say. And you can see all the pieces here are important. We can't just, like I said, isolate one thing at a time and just talk about that, because obviously they're all connected. Here you can see that they're all connected. And something else you can't tell from this picture, but a lot of times people have skin issues, and that has to do with the gut too, because what happens is you eat something, you digest it, and there's something not quite right, not quite balanced. So your body doesn't absorb it the way that it's intended to. And so it comes out a different pathway. Instead of coming out the pathway, which is through the liver and the kidneys, and then out, of course, the anus, it tries to come out through the skin, because it's not processing appropriately. And so we get a rash. Things like psoriasis, things like eczema often are a result of some type of food causing this reaction, because there is an imbalance there. So long term or short term, that means maybe change your diet. Long term, that means, okay, let's address that and see if we can get that balance back. So let's see if we can get back to a state of where this is going to function appropriately. So the GI system includes all the organs related to digestion and absorption of food. And there are two main parts of the system. The first is basically a continuous tube with two openings, the mouth and the anus. And then this continuous tube is called the digestive tract. And the other part includes the accessory of organs of the GI, including the teeth, the tongue, salivary glands, liver, gallbladder, and pancreas. So the GI system has two primary functions. First is the breakdown or digestion of food, and second is the absorption of the nutrients that come out of that food. So digestion of food includes mechanical and chemical digestion, and this means that food is first broken down into smaller pieces with the mouth and the stomach, like the grinding, breaking it into smaller pieces. And then as food then moves lower into the digestive tract, it is completely broken down into its simplest components, namely glucose, amino acids, fatty acids, and vitamins and minerals. That's the chemical digestion. Each of these nutrients Glucose, amino acids, fatty acids, vitamins, and minerals all play a significant role in every bodily function. In fact, as soon as cells lose any of their capacity to produce energy for the body, the result is a decline in health. So, a healthy GI system is imperative to the body's overall performance. And I just said, the chemical digestion, I think it's important too when they talk about, specifically with psychosomatic issues, they call it a chemical imbalance. And it truly is. It really is a chemical imbalance, but that's in your gut. A lot of times we think of this chemical imbalance happening up here, but it often is happening in the GI tract. Okay, so some factors of GI health. So of course, a healthy lifestyle and good food choices, appropriate supplementation, all of these things contribute to good health. We can't kind of skip the wellness pyramid and expect to land at the top, right? We have to do our best to eat right and exercise and reduce and manage stress. So we'll talk about those things in a minute, but maintaining healthy GI health can reduce the normal discomforts that come from digesting food, but furthermore, a healthy digestive tract is better able to break down food and absorb critical nutrients. GI health can actually improve your nutritional status overall. Proper nutrient levels can impact every aspect of body's function, from the integrity of body tissues and their function to the levels of neurotransmitters found in the body, to cellular health, and then, of course, on to brain function and emotional well-being. So when you're talking about gastrointestinal health, it can be useful to look at what can be done on a daily basis that might be on more of an as-needed basis to promote and maintain a healthier GI. Okay, so now we're going to talk about those products. Okay, what can we do to have optimum health? This product right here is a 3-part system of our supplements. And if you aren't familiar with these guys, get familiar with these guys. It took me a while to get on board with trying our supplements. I was just apprehensive at best. I was like, I eat healthy and I take a fish oil. That's all I need. Otherwise, I'm doing pretty good. I don't really need this supplementation because I'm healthy. Well, the fact of the matter is our foods are depleted of nutrition. They just don't have it anymore, which is frustrating. But it's true when you think about, like I said, with the animals who eat grain that's got fertilizers in it and hormones in it, all kinds of pesticides and chemicals from the growing process. Or even when you're talking about the vegetables we eat ourselves, even if they're organic, if they were purchased at a grocery store, they've been at the grocery store for potentially a week or more, and they were shipped in from Chile at this time of year or California at best. And just how long has it been since that fruit was actually in the soil where it was growing? Now it's dead and decaying, and we eat it, and it just doesn't have the nutrients that fresh picked produce has. And it doesn't offer that same. Not only that, but our foods have been modified. Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here because I am a little bit connected to farming. It's something that I love. And we homestead. So if you don't know that already, we love to grow our own foods, but we know what it looks like to grow your own foods and the effort that takes, and also what modern farming looks like. It's not great. And it's been happening for a long time. And so our soil is very depleted of nutrition. So we aren't getting that nutrition from those foods. But this amazing product is a food-based supplement so that we can get that food, that nutrition filled food in these supplements and fill in the gaps in our diets. So we've got the Alpha CRS, which is a cellular vitality complex, and it's really created to help give your cells more energy. If your cells have more energy, that's what makes up your body. So your whole body has more energy. And that's one of the main side effects of taking the supplements, that people always tell me, I just can't believe how much energy I have. I don't need a 3 o'clock coffee or afternoon nap. I just feel like I have enough energy to get things done. So I'm just going to read a few of the ingredients. So there's milk thistle, green tea leaf, pomegranate fruit, pineapple stem, turmeric, grapeseed, sesame, pine bark, just lots of really good things that are full of cleansing stuff, but also energy boosting, cellular supporting kinds of things. Okay. So then the Z Omega is our fish oil. It's got great sources of fish oil. Plus it's got things like clove essential oil, and there's frankincense in here. And these all too, I want to remind you, they don't hurt my stomach. So when I first started with doTERRA, that was one of my main apprehensions with supplements, is that they always bothered my stomach. And these are very gentle on your stomach, partly because they're food-based, partly also because we put a DigestZen digestive sort of the tummy tamer blend inside there, which includes caraway, ginger, peppermint, so that it soothes your stomach and doesn't cause that, I don't know even how to describe it, that weight in the bottom of your stomach that I normally feel when I take supplements. And then this is the Microplex VMZ, so it's got your vitamin C and A and D and E and K and on and on and on. And it's a really well-balanced whole food, lots of kales and dandelions and things like that. So incredible, very complete supplement that has every single basic need that we have. So you don't have to search high and low to sort of fill in the blanks like you would if you were shopping elsewhere. And also, I don't know if you know, but the supplement industry is a very hairy, scary place. It's like the wild, wild west. You just don't know what you're getting when you purchase things. And it can be very dangerous. So you need to trust the company that you buy your supplements from. doTERRAs are amazing. Okay, so the DigestZen line of products are incredible. They each do their own thing. A lot of these are pieces of the cleanse protocol. If you're thinking of joining us for the cleanse, I highly encourage you to do that. Stock up now, get your free frankincense. It will come with GX Assist. It will come with PB Assist. It will come with Zendocrine. And I'll talk about each of these a little bit individually, but the GX Assist is the part of the cleanse that's sort of the most intense part. And it includes the heavy hitting oils that are very antibacterial. So they help clean out bacteria. They help clean out bad guys and grossness and all of that. And then after that, for 10 days, you do that. And then for 10 days, you add in our probiotic, the PB Assist, and that reestablishes good, healthy microflora that are what we want in our stomachs. That's what we want to be growing and thriving. Zendocrine is an amazing product. It supports healthy liver function and just the processing out of the toxins that we're releasing. Zendocrine oil is the same. It boosts the liver and the kidneys and helps them to function at their prime. And then the other items in here, the digest tabs, if you haven't seen those, they're like a calcium tab that you can chew, and it helps ease indigestion and acid reflux really, really rapidly, like a Tums, but all natural and with DigestZen mixed in. So you get all of the benefits of taking the DigestZen oil at the same time. And DigestZen is incredible. And a lot of times it's cool. You can use DigestZen when you're feeling that anxious kind of nervousness, and it helps soothe your stomach and calm those nerves at the same time. It's really cool. So DigestZen TerraZyme, we're going to spend a minute here because this is a product everyone should take every single day, because what it does is it helps to digest and break down foods that we eat that may or may not have nutrition in them. That's sort of not really even, it's not really even the point, but whether or not it's good for you food, it helps to break it down so we can absorb whatever is in there and not struggle to digest and even feel those effects that I was talking about. A lot of people who deal with eczema, they can take TerraZyme and really break down the foods the way that they were intended to be broken down. Now, one of the things about enzymes is, and why we need to supplement is, again, remember that old produce I was talking about? Well, it's supposed to come with its own sources of enzymes. But as soon as it starts decaying, those enzymes are being used up and they're no longer there when it's time to eat. The other thing is, as we age, we start making less and less enzymes, partly because of what we're exposed to, but also because we haven't had the right nutrition our whole lives. And so there's this whole process of sort of rebuilding it back up. But this is a way to boost the decomposition or the degradation of food so that we can absorb nutrition from it. And I highly recommend you take TerraZyme every single day. At our Symphony of the Cells training recently with Boyd Truman, he could not stop talking about how important TerraZyme is. And it's such a simple thing to add. It's really pretty affordable. You can do a fun experiment where you open the bottle or the capsule, excuse me, in a bowl of pudding or oatmeal and watch it liquefy, because it's doing that. It's helping to digest that and break it down. Oh, there's a tip. especially if you feel like there are issues. This time of year, of course, we're eating poorly. So when you eat something bad and it just does not set right, take your TerraZyme, and it can really help you kind of get over that feeling really quickly. I love it. I will say that I feel so much more bloated. We ran out of TerraZyme recently for a couple of weeks. And you know how it is when you know your LRP comes at a certain time, you're like, I'll just wait, and you have to go a week or so. And I should have just ordered, but when it came back in, the bloating almost instantaneously went away, and it was such a relief. So GX Assist, I already talked about that a little bit. That's your cleanser and a part of the cleanse protocol. I actually like to have these kind of in stock at my house to use. There are some heavy hitters in there like thyme and oregano, also caprylic acid, but all of those things are really good for helping flush out bad stuff. So it's a kind of an intense option, but something I use occasionally when I'm fighting something off, like maybe flu type symptoms. Sinus stuff recently has been my comfort when I was having sinus problems. So it's something that you might want to have on hand. It's a black pill. It's kind of a scary little guy, but works really well. There's that probiotic that we talked about, the PB Assist, the Zendocrine line. And I will just point out that the Zendocrine complex in the white bottle is totally different. It's an herbal complex with just some incredible herbal supplements in there, and different than the Zendocrine oil, which is in the two black bottles. We've got the Zendocrine oil on its own. You can take that and apply it to the liver area. You can take it internally, or you can buy the pre-made soft gels and take those internally, which might suit your fancy better. I warn you, it tastes terribly. It has geranium in there. It's not my favorite, but I do know that my body is in a disposition where it needs extra liver support. And so I try to take it as often as I can. The TrimShake products are amazing. They are really great to give you just a boost of protein and a good option, also with fiber, but a good option as a meal replacer. I like to have it on hand because it's a good solid protein option without a ton of sugar. There's no sugar in these. My kids like the taste of all of these. We use the V-Shake is unflavored. It's the vegan version. We use that a lot, particularly in smoothies, just to give it some more of that filling protein so they last longer. And then of course, DigestZen is an old staple that is really incredible for supporting the GI tract, whether you take it internally under your tongue, for IBS issues and Crohn's and things like that. It's amazing. You get the soft gels and use those. Also, applying it straight to your belly button is really effective. If you deal with things like acid reflux, you can apply it topically on the throat and over the chest, you know, where you feel that burn. But yeah, it's a really incredible product. Digest tabs, we talked about those already. Handy dandy. Some more of our favorite sort of essential oils for dealing with stomach issues. But I actually wanted to bring up clove oil because I did some digging and found some really good information on clove. So let me pull that up real quick. So emotional balance is of the utmost importance in maintaining a healthy body. Even ordinary events such as stress can result in changes to normal workings of the body. For example, many times our GI tract lets us know that we're under stress, right? When we have those butterflies or that pit in the bottom of our stomach. Recent findings in a peer-reviewed scientific journal demonstrate that eugenol, the chief component of clove essential oil, assists the body in maintaining normal gastrointestinal motility even during times of stress. So the authors theorize that eugenol acts on stress-responsive regions of the brain, promoting balanced levels of stress response hormones that are released throughout the body, which helps keep the GI tract functioning properly. Pretty cool, right? This research is being done primarily thanks to dōTERRA. There's massive interest in essential oils and pure essential oils that we can research in this way in clinical settings. But that's really cool. And clove is honestly not one that I've turned to, but it was a recommendation to me recently when we were actually at convention. We just flown out to convention and got the phone call you all want to get from your children as soon as you leave them, that one of our kids started puking. It was lovely. And so I was sharing this information with another mom at convention, and she was like, clove and myrrh. And I don't know myrrh yet. I need to do some more research there. But she said she just was like, at one time, her husband had an issue, and she scanned him with one of the biofeedback scanners. Clove came up. He used clove and myrrh, and within 30 minutes, he was fine. And then the rest of the family used clove and myrrh just on the navel, simple trick, and they were fine. So that's a really easy thing to do. So I made sure the kids were all doing that. Only 2 of them ended up getting it. But that clove, interestingly enough, came up again there. And of course, if it was helping everything kind of move the way it's supposed to, that makes sense. Next up is lemongrass. So these are the 2 weird ones that I wanted to bring up with you because they might be ones that you have never tried or considered trying. So in this day and age of industry and convenience, we're all exposed to toxins on a daily basis. So barring massive environmental exposures, the GI tract is one of the most significant sites of toxin exposure throughout the entire body. Repeated exposure to toxins in the GI tract can lead to suboptimal function and detrimental changes, highlighting the need for a health regimen that might protect against such damages. To do just that, researchers in Mexico undertook a study to determine whether or not nerol, a minor constituent found in lemongrass essential oil, could exhibit a gastroprotective effect when ingested. They found that at moderately low levels of ingestion, nerol had a profound gastroprotective effect. At the molecular level, the researchers determined that nerol aided in maintaining a healthy inflammatory response to toxin exposure. While further research is merited, these results are encouraging and add to the growing evidence supporting the use of natural supplements. Very cool, right? Such a simple thing. Lemongrass is a great oil. It's very supportive of kind of natural detoxification as well. So love it. Okay, so this is just something I wanted to remind you of. dōTERRA fully knows that you cannot address an issue at the top and expect to see results necessarily funnel down. However, I will tell you that if you skip, eat right, and exercise, which most people do, well, most people want to do anyways, you can get to rest and manage stress, and the oils can step in to help you there, okay? So starting at eat right, how are we talking about that tonight? Take your supplements. It's easy. Don't change your diet at all. Just add the supplements and see what changes you see. We were talking about this at class. It's so much easier to just add something in than it is to alter something else. So while altering may be something that you want to look at, start here, okay? Exercise. Be active. Get up and do stuff. That always makes you feel better. Of course, the oils can't make you move, but maybe they can inspire you to move if you use a little motivate or elevation or balance or things that kind of perk you up and invigorate you. Peppermint, spearmint, those could get you out of your seat, right? But then when we get to rest and manage stress, I love this because we have some incredible products for that. Serenity Complex is huge, and that is something that can help you with rest and with managing stress. So it's something I take before bed and in the middle of the day, or actually the start of the day in the morning. So I take that because it has a great ingredient called L-theanine, which is an amino acid that helps us process the caffeine that we may ingest. But it also has things like passion flower in there that are really calming and have a sedative effect without you feeling like you're sedated. So you won't feel groggy. You won't wake up feeling weird and kind of out of it. Really helps also in the production of melatonin. So really cool. Helps your body, stimulate your body to make its own melatonin instead of just taking melatonin. Okay, and then reduce toxic load. Now, if you're interested in doing the cleanse, if you're planning to do the cleanse, this will help a ton with reducing the toxic load that we are facing internally. And people always ask me, Lacey, do I have to change my diet for the cleanse? We will encourage you to make some changes and alterations and evaluate that. But even if you don't, you will find some benefit. You will gain benefit from doing the cleanse protocol. Okay, so just to recap, the GI health relies on a number of different factors. Healthy lifestyle. When we're talking about using oils, that's a piece of that. When we use oils and are able to manage our health without other inputs or medications, it helps a ton. When we do things like take lemon in our water every single day, it is massive for cleaning out our system and keeping it working right. Proper nutrition, filling in the gaps with our supplements is incredible. Trying to cut back on that bad stuff can be really helpful too. But ultimately, these are all just bite off the challenges that you feel like you can bite off and do it one step at a time. Do not feel like, oh, this is an overnight thing that you're going to see overnight massive results. It takes time. It took time to get in a bad state. It's going to take a little time and investment to get out of a bad state. Okay, so we have some comments. I'm going to just double check and make sure I've answered all your questions. And if you guys have any cool, hey guys, hey Emily and Barbara and Teresa, if you guys have any like experiences that you've had with the oils that have been powerful, I would love to hear it. Teresa says she didn't know about all the resources on dōTERRA. Yes, it's amazing. And you can really pinpoint your how you're helping people for sure, and give them resources that are valuable to them. For some reason, when I do this, it doesn't always let me see all the comments. So I'm going to see here. If I can fix it. I'm whispering. Can you hear me whispering? I hope some of you are feeling inspired by these products and what they can do. And I know so many of you have seen massive results from using these products. So like I said, I would love for you to share what you have experienced. Okay, I think that's it. I don't see any other comment. Oh wait, no, there's some more comments coming in. But I can't read them. So I'm just gonna have to come back and read those questions because it's not letting me right now. But I sure am glad that you guys hopped on, and if you ever have further questions, let me know. But yeah, do a little digging, play around on the dōTERRA website. It's really fun. There's lots of little kind of nooks and crannies to get lost in and find new and fun things like recipes and you name it, tons. All right, without further ado, I'm going to close the call, and I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll do this again soon, maybe. All right, good night.